Looking at this Mini, because it won't start, it's had a high pressure fuel pump replaced and it still won't start. So what I'm going to do is see why. No message from alternator, tank fill level, combustion misfire cylinder 4, power management, cylinder 4. Right, their history, apart from that one, tank fill level. Now look at the live data. Real pressure. So that's what it is and that's what it should be. So now I'm going to crank the engine and see what we're getting at the rail. Okay, so this one goes up to 5 MPa. That one stayed at 0.74 MPa. So we need to check, is it a faulty pressure sensor in the rail? Or is it the fuel pump? I'll start checking the low pressure fuel, so I know the low pressure is good. And then I'll check the high pressure. It's a petrol engine, by the way. Gasoline direct injection, I forgot to say that. So connected the fuel gauge. This is connected to the tank that's connected just under the back seat in the back of the car. So I'm going to crank it and see what pressure we have on the low pressure side. About 75 psi. It didn't crank though. The battery's getting a bit low. 75 psi. Okay, now I'm at the front of the car. This is the high pressure fuel pump. There's the fuel line coming in from the electric pump in the tank. And this is the one that goes to the common rail for the fuel injectors. I'm still using a low pressure fuel gauge because I don't think it's going to have any pressure different than what's going into it. And there should be, because it was like 5 MPa, which is about 720 psi or something like that. So it's going to be really high. But I think this is just going to be the same pressure on both sides. So we'll give it a go and see. Could you just crank that for me, please? Okay, that's fine. So as you see, it only went up to about 70 psi. So it's exactly the same as the other side. So now I'm going to check the control, the electrical wires going into it. And if they're getting a signal and being controlled, then it's going to be a faulty high pressure pump. I'm connecting up a scope so that I can see what's going on. Got some sort of a pattern going on already. That's both wires going into this high pressure fuel pump at the same time. I'll see what happens here. Could you crank that for me? Okay, that's fine. This is the waveform. Looking at the 2 pins, I've got on the blue the 12 volts all the time. That's cranking here, so it's dropped down a bit. And the red one is where it pulls it to the ground. It's hardly on. See, it's very small at the bottom where it's pulled it to ground. If I go across a little bit, it starts bringing it on for longer. And it's trying to get the pressure that it wants, and it can't do it. So we know it's getting the control, it's getting ground, and it's getting the power. It's just not giving us the pressure that we want. So I'm going to look at the pump. That's got a new high pressure fuel pump bolted on there. Gonna try it out. We've also changed the fuel filter that goes in the back. Kind of looks like that. Sits in the tank just under there. So that's new as well. Let's see if it starts. Sounds better after it was ticking over for a couple of minutes and it suddenly started sounding even better. I'm gonna check it for fault codes. Now the MPA, the actual MPA is close to what it's wanting. It looks like it's a fix. It was a high pressure fuel pump. These two numbers change when I rev it up. The 5 MPA goes up. I'll see if I can graph it. Don't know how good the graph is. Take it back. I didn't. Yeah, it's probably better like that. So they both changed together. That's the main thing.